What's up, folks? We have a huge episode for you with new images of upcoming G.I. Joe Classified figures, as well as new secrets, insight, and updates from the G.I. Joe Classified team. We have confirmation of new G.I. Joe soldiers on the way. What new details do you need to know about Retro Flint? What new accessories will Retro Covergirl have? What cool surprise is included with the Retro Tel Viper? And what secret insights did the G.I. Joe Classified team recently reveal? We've got answers on all of that and a lot more. Watch until the end. You'll want to hear all of the updates and insight from the G.I. Joe Classified team. Recently, the Hasbro team did an interview with Full Force, and there were a few highlights to share. Leaked images shown in this episode are from Jay Kahn and Nathan Camerzel, and we'll show you everything that's new and what it means. First up, you may recall that we told you a couple months ago that we had good reason to believe Retro Cobra Bat was next in the line, and we also told you that it would come with a red visor. But in 2025, we understand that a new Retro Breaker, Major Blood, and Cobra Bat are on the way next. The Retro Bat should have a red faceplate and a lot of vintage-inspired colors. Sure enough, here we have an image of the Retro Cobra Bat with a red visor. So our information checked out. The yellow is closer to the vintage O-ring Cobra Bat colorway. The accessories are also vintage-inspired and have more paint apps on them this time. There are blast effects attachments for a blue laser and one that's used for shooting fire out of the flamethrower attachment. And there's a second head with an exposed panel to show off the droid skeleton underneath. And there's a Cobra logo on the left shoulder. Overall, there are just enough changes that collectors may be tempted to add more of these to their collections, especially with the attachable parts that now have paint apps. So let us know your thoughts on the Retro Bat. Are you into this, or are you going to pass? Why or why not? Let us know. Next, do you remember how we've been telling you lately that there are more G.I. Joe green shirt soldiers on the way very soon? Well, we now have an image of a new green shirt soldier for G.I. Joe. This is an early production sample, so the finished product will obviously look very different. Keep in mind we also have a Retro Breaker coming in 2025. We shared our prediction for the 2025 HasLab, which we believe has links to the green shirts and the OG-13 lineup. This is just the latest confirmation of the information we learned this past fall. Keep an eye on the green shirt front for Joe's in 2025. Next, let's talk about some upcoming retro figures. Lenny said Flint and Covergirl are updated a lot, just like Duke and Scarlet. He said quite a bit is new. They designed Flint and the Retro Tel Viper with more of a classic vibe. So let's first take a look at Retro Flint. Lenny said Retro Flint is as close to the vintage 1985 Flint as possible. He is definitely Sunbow inspired, that's for sure. Tony acknowledged that many collectors are not that fond of the first classified Flint, and that they wanted to make sure that there was a figure of an A-tier character like Flint that people actually loved. Tony said there should always be some A-tier characters circulating at any given time. This is why there are so many Snake Eyes figures already in the line. Retro Flint has his classic black beret, he has a new expressionless head sculpt. His secondary gear is based on the 1985 O-ring figure, and he's got his traditional black shirt with rolled-up sleeves, green and brown camo pants, and combat boots. It appears that Retro Flint may have reuse of Outback's arms and some lower body parts. The shirt appears to be reuse from Retro Duke, and this is more reuse of Cobra Commander's hands. Retro Flint comes with a new vintage-inspired shotgun and backpack, which features sticks of dynamite, grenades, and a canteen. Fans of the old-school Flint should be happy with this new rendition. But let's turn this over to you. Which Flint do you prefer? The classified Flint, Tiger Force Flint, or this new Retro Flint? Tell us in the comments below. I'm already on Team Retro Flint. The first one was okay, but I've been waiting for a vintage Flint to fill out our classified collection, and this is the one. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. Next, over to Retro Covergirl. Lenny said they wanted to make Covergirl as close as possible to the Sunbow rendition. He said there's a lot that's new. Retro Covergirl features several character-inspired accessories, including two head sculpts, one with a ponytail and baseball hat, and the other shows her blonde hair flowing freely and a big smile. This is her pin-up head sculpt. And there's also a laser rifle, a blue wrench, a sledgehammer, handgun, and two sets of hands. She's wearing a military green open leather jacket with a brown work shirt underneath, as well as green pants and black and brown boots. This is as classic Sunbow as it gets for Covergirl. Once again, which version do you prefer? The first classified Covergirl with red hair, or this new retro blonde style? The first showed a lot of promise, but I feel the retro version is going to be tough to beat. Next, over to the Retro Tel Viper. Lenny said Tel Viper has some different parts and pieces. He has a brand new chest which is open in the front and allows more articulation. His upper torso piece with a zipper also appears to be brand new. Lenny said he wanted to introduce something for Tel Viper that he loved in the animated series. He wanted to keep this secret, but thanks to the leaked images, we have our answer. What he's referring to is the Tel Viper's helmet visors displaying words on the front. One head sculpt in particular reads, "Alert." This is a callback to the cartoon series starting with the Worlds Without End episode. Lenny said he liked this feature and wanted to get it into the line. And now the secret is out, the retro Tel Viper will have words on the front of his visor. Because they've already done a redeco of Tel Viper with the Python Tel Viper, Lenny said that Hasbro didn't want to do a straight re-release or another repaint of Tel Viper, so there's a mix of new with other existing parts and pieces from their library. This contains several character-inspired accessories including 2 alternate head sculpts, a backpack with a modular communications array, a hose, and his signature VS11 scanner. The retro Tel Viper is a beefier version than the one that came with the Cobra flight pod, but overall, this is some old school goodness with a lot of nostalgia. Next up, let's talk about Crystal Ball. Tony called it a surprising update which pays homage to the character's original wackiness, but he said it's a more aggressive take on Crystal Ball. It has an edge. Lenny said that Crystal Ball is a hypnotist, but they wanted to play into the idea of what you can do with hypnotism if you're Cobra. He asked out loud, what are you going to make people see, and how are you going to use that to your advantage? The hypnotism is more to mess with your brain and how you see the world around you. We believe that Crystal Ball's eyes will be red. Next over to Darklon. Lenny said they needed another big bad guy in the line. Darklon has ties to the Iron Grenadiers and Destro, so he thought it was a great time for Classified to add Darklon. These fresh leaks give us a closer look at a more complete Darklon figure. A green top with bold black stripes, a chest holster for that battle-ready feel, black plated armor on his upper right arm paired with wrist gauntlets for extra menace. His maroon cargo pants feature a leg armor reminiscent of the iconic Cobra Vipers. He has black and green gloves and black boots for a clean, cohesive finish. And the cherry on top, gold cartridges sculpted onto his right boot. The attention to detail here is top tier, making Darklon a perfect addition to any Cobra lineup. We told you over a year ago that the Iron Grenadiers would be joining Classified as the next sub-team, including Metalhead, the Iron Grenadiers, the Iron Grenadier Bat, Darklon, Voltar, and the Iron Grenadier Destro and Baroness. Just weeks after we broke that news, Hasbro announced Metalhead. The Iron Grenadier and Iron Grenadier Bat were then also announced and released earlier this year. Darklon was just recently announced by Hasbro, and there's no coincidence with all of this happening. We expect Darklon to have the Iron Grenadier style packaging when he's released. Next, let's talk about leaks. Lenny from the G.I. Joe team didn't hold back when addressing the leaks of upcoming Classified figures like Darklon, Crystal Ball, and others. He called the situation brutal, expressing frustration with people overseas getting early production samples of figures and posting them online, which he thinks ruins the excitement of official reveals. And honestly, Lenny has a point. Most leaked images are grainy, low-resolution production samples that don't do justice to the finished figures. But here's the question, do leaks kill your hype, or do they fuel it? The Hasbro team themselves have dabbled with leaks along the way, often giving a heads up to some people with behind-the-scenes information on the down low. Obviously, it's not as public as the online leaked images, but it's the same thing. And ironically, it seems that the Hasbro team does not like that the table has been turned on them. In my opinion, Hasbro has 2 options: adapt or keep struggling. Leaks are inevitable, so why not lean into it? Drop early render images when figures are first announced. Take control of the narrative before the internet beats you to it. Because let's be real, if Hasbro isn't doing anything to fix or address their approach, they're in no position to complain about leaks. But what's your take? Are you on the Stop the Leaks team? Or do you think Hasbro should pivot and play offense? There are definitely ways to get ahead of the leaks in a very creative way that can create even more hype for Hasbro, but it seems like they're not looking in those areas just yet. But let's turn this over to all of you at home. Do you have a spicy idea for how Hasbro can stay ahead of the game, or do you feel it's not worth keeping up with the leaks? Let us know in the comments below. If you're enjoying this, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. Next over to Snake Eyes version 4. Lenny said it'll be a classic with some modern touches, so we can officially set our expectations around the original. Next over to HasLab. The G.I. Joe team has said that the USS Flag and Defiant have been ruled out for Classified due to size. Hasbro's team has been very clear that they will never make the Flag, and that the Defiant is just too big. Tony said he thinks it's possible for them to go bigger than the Rattler. In speaking about how ridiculously large some HasLabs would be in the 6-inch scale, Lenny from the G.I. Joe team joked about making the Rolling Thunder, given how it would end up being as big as a kitchen table if it was made for Classified. Lenny has long said that he'd love to make a Rolling Thunder, but it's always referred to as a HasLab that's just too big to make right now, which is why he feels safe with throwing around the name whenever people ask about his dream HasLab. This way he doesn't have to spoil any upcoming products. Next up, the Mass Device Snake Eyes and Polar Bear. And first up, I've got to say that Hasbro would be wise to max out their production quantities for this set. Once the diorama images are revealed showing Snake Eyes glowing from the radioactive crystal, or the polar bear being given some dramatic lighting, and even just standing up on its 2 hind feet, interest is going to skyrocket. Accessories here include the vintage laser rifle from the cartoon series, the bear trap which caught Timber, a radioactive canister, a red crystal in a clear display case, 3 sets of glowing hands, 1 set of normal hands, and let's point out, the Snake Eyes figure and his pink hands all glow under black light. It also includes a handgun and a knife, and the polar bear has 2 separate head sculpts. There's even an extra shoulder panel with arrows lodged in it. This can be attached to the bear's left shoulder to replace the normal panel. So there's a lot of storytelling going on here directly from the cartoon series back in the 80s. This Snake Eyes is a repaint of the retro Snake Eyes, and the radioactive glow is a very nice gimmick. Some will have no interest in this because they have enough Snake Eyes figures, and that's understandable. Meanwhile, others will recall that the Master of Disguise Zartan, which featured color-changing skin when placed in cold temperatures, is still one of the most sought-after G.I. Joe Classified figures, so we anticipate that the glowing feature will create more lasting value than most other figures. When we consider that this also includes a fully articulated polar bear, there's ample reason to believe that this could become one of the most iconic G.I. Joe sets of all time, and there's reason to believe that it will sell out on the first day. Time will tell. Looking ahead, we expect 2 more Mass Device items. Just for the fun of speculation, here's what we think is on the way next. A Snake Armor mech suit, and it could possibly come with Flash, as well as the Polar Battle Bear snowmobile, and we think it might come with Arctic Scarlet. We already predicted the radioactive Snake Eyes with a polar bear and the radioactive glow on the figure, so let us know if you'd be interested in a Snake Armor mech suit or the Polar Battle Bear snowmobile. Drop your comments down below. Lenny and Tony from the Hasbro team said that the polar bear was designed so that it can stand on its hind legs just like in the cartoon. They said the bear is big and heavy. It will be over 9 inches tall when it stands up. Lenny said that the Snake Eyes and Polar Bear will not follow the established figure and pet price point, so it appears there are exceptions. Expect to pay more than normal for this set. It will have its own price point. Then next, over to Law & Order. We have new images of Law & Order. This confirms our last report in which we told you that Law's walkie-talkie can be removed from his vest. In this image, we now have proof that the walkie-talkie does in fact plug into Law's vest. Thanks to JCon for posting this to confirm and support our last report. Let us know in the comments below if this type of detail makes you more interested in getting Law & Order. I'm expecting this to be one of the best releases for 2025. Next, over to Blowtorch. Lenny said that the disc-like shapes on Blowtorch's outfit made no sense, so he looked into it to find out if it's based on anything real, but it's not. So he decided to do something new instead, and he calls the modernized diodes dampeners. Essentially, Lenny says that this is supposed to be a diode that connects to the armor as a cooling system for inside his gear. That way when he's in the middle of a fire, he stays cool. Lenny says that he chooses to believe that this is supposed to be a protective suit for Blowtorch, something that serves a function. Tony said they steered away from the brighter colorway for Blowtorch and went with the muted red and yellow instead because they wanted to make Blowtorch look like a real-life fireman with a tan yellow colored outfit. We hope you're all enjoying the holidays, and we wish you all the best in 2025. Stay tuned to Viper Island for all your G.I. Joe news, rumors, and insight into the world of G.I. Joe Classified. We'll continue to keep you entertained and informed into the new year and beyond. And there you have it. You've made it to the end of this episode, and we really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. And we would love it even more if you take just 1 second of your time. Make sure that down below you are subscribed to the channel. We ask that you do, because that guarantees that we definitely get to see you back here again next time. Thanks for tuning into Viper Island, your one-stop shop for all things G.I. Joe. When there's relevant news, we'll be here to discuss all of it, together with you. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, have a great day, and yo Joe!